Well, hello. We're going live today for today's training, and I'm going to just be talking here about for the next 10 minutes or so. So if you're just now coming on, I'm just going to be talking, just rambling on, not anything in particular of importance to say, what have you. If you're watching this on a video, then fast forward about 8 minutes from now, and you'll get to the actual beginning of this. And that being it's a live live stream YouTube, then I like to take a little bit of time, give people a chance to see the notification that I am here live. And then once they get that notification, they can, join on. And so that's why generally it'll take a little bit of time. So if there's someone that has joined me, go ahead and make a comment. And so I know who's here. Okay, there was just something on my screen about the chat messages, and so I had to set a setting apparently, and so I've done that. So you're free to chat and make comments and what have you, and introduce yourself. So let me know if you're here, and that way I'll know who I'm going to be having to join me tonight. In a moment, while we're waiting for people to come on, I'm going to get a drink of water because I totally forgot to get a drink of water before I got this started. I was running about 5 minutes actually behind the schedule that I wanted to be on, and so I rushed in to get this going. I'm going to then go ahead and get a drink of water. I did bring my water bottle in and a glass. Well, thank you for joining us. I see that there's someone else that has joined us. We've got 2 people here that have joined us. So go ahead and comment in the comments. Let us know a little bit about maybe where you're from. Okay, like I said, we'll be getting started, and then right now it looks like about 5 or 6 minutes, and we'll get started. And right now we're just waiting, giving people a chance to get on the live stream. If you have any questions about the subject that I'll be teaching on, feel free to put those in the comments. Hello, Stephen. Thank you for joining me again. You were here last week, and I appreciate your coming back. So the topic tonight is how to write the perfect profile which attracts the people that you most desire to have. And so if you have any questions on that, go ahead and put those in the chat, and I'll make sure that I get your questions answered here in the live stream. And as we go along as well, feel free to ask questions, and I'll make sure that I can cover every question before we end. Now, if I am going along, I may not get your question right away, but if you just have a question that pops in your head about the subject matter, then go ahead and just put that into the comments. I'll make sure then that I scroll through the comments and get caught up with them and answer all questions before we finish this live stream. And so if you do have questions then about the topic, I'd be happy to make sure I get that covered. The topic again then is how to write the perfect profile which attracts the people you most desire. Now, if you have followed my videos, then you know a little bit about, I'm not necessarily you watch every one or anything, but if you've watched, even a half dozen of them, one of the things that you'll learn is that I'm a real strong believer in the law of attraction. And even recently, I've had a great example of how powerful the law of attraction can be. And that Kat has a birthday coming up in July. And so I'm here in Seattle, and I'm trying to put together a little birthday party for her. And that'll be at the end of July. And in putting that little birthday party together, I want to invite some of our good friends to come and celebrate her birthday with us. And so those good friends, then I went ahead and invited them and created a little chat group. And in the chat of that group, then it quickly became the place where Kat and I live in California, Ventura, California, we really can't host more than like 2 or 3 people at a time to come. We share a condominium with the guy who owns the condo. He lives there in one of the bedrooms, and then there's another bedroom that a single gal, 30 years old, lives and rents that room, and then there's Kat and I that we rent our room from him. And so while we can have a couple people over at a time, really not very big of a group. And so we were going to think about having that at a friend's house that we know that has a nice place. It's right on the beach in Malibu, California. And that'd be a great place to go ahead and have that event. But then I really didn't realize that he's really kind of limited to a maximum of 10 people, and that the people, his neighbors and what have you, are very sensitive to big gatherings and don't want big gatherings and what have you. I mean, obviously, right there on the beach in Malibu, you can imagine that the caliber of neighbors are very picky. And we knew that we would probably likely have more than 10 people, because that would include myself and Kat and a friend of ours that lives there. And then that leaves room for 7 others. And we know there would be more than 7 people. And so I went ahead and started talking about, maybe then just having at maybe a hotel or something. And as we pursued that, people commented about that they really prefer events like this at a house, and it's going to be an event where people can enjoy themselves and feel free to have sex and things. And so people were saying that, yeah, they prefer house parties. And so that may be a topic of a future party, or future video, is the difference between different kinds of parties and the environment and atmosphere, things like that. But at any rate, so over the last year, there's been someone who has been in contact with me just fairly regularly, and I really like the energy. He has a place where he puts on parties. I've never been able to make one of his parties because I don't the time that he has the party and the time I'm in Ventura and then have available, because even if I'm in Ventura, not necessarily do I have the time available to go to one of these events, but I've wanted to. And he has a really nice location and a nice place for these events. And so I just thought about him and realized that, man, let me go ahead and check in with him, and maybe his place would be a good venue for it. So I checked in with him, and it turns out that it's going to be a really wonderful place. And so then it also turns out that a friend of mine who I had participated in this group discussion, he has put on quite a few hotel parties in the past. And then we have the friend that puts on parties at his place in Malibu, but again, small parties. I'm going to reach over here and silence my phone. I didn't realize that my phone wasn't on silent. And so I'm going to do that as I'm chatting. And so then we just started to kind of put our heads together and talk about really what it is that we wanted. And this is the part of the power of making sure that you're clear and specific in knowing what you want, because then suddenly this guy that has been, checking in with me for over a year, that, suddenly I remembered him and went and I hadn't really paid too much attention to his location and his facility before, but suddenly it turns out it's just an ideal place. And so we invited him and also then his female partner into the group, and they started chatting with us, and we've just had a really wonderful time. But people have started coming together, and my friend that puts on the hotel parties, as well as the gentleman from Malibu, and then this new gentleman with his venue, they talked about how that sometimes people flake out. And so they're trying to regroup. My friend that does hotel parties, he's kind of regrouping and trying to sort things out so that people don't always just flake out on him. This new guy that has house parties, he's also regrouping and trying to figure out how to create something that people don't flake out on him. And then the gentleman down in Malibu. And so, there's these people that have these facilities and everything, and I just thought to myself, well, that's something I do well at, and that is helping them to be able to create a list for their venues and keep in touch with people, develop relationships with people so that you can then have the events that you want to have and have people actually then show up and commit to them and follow through. So anyway, we are putting together some really fun things for that now. And it's just interesting how these things all come together. And it's because the power of attraction will bring the right people together at the right time to make things happen. And that's what this topic about tonight then is how to write the perfect profile which attracts the people you most desire. And so let's see here. Does the topic talk about writing a profile on a dating site? Certainly. And so if you have any questions, in fact, I'm going to talk about different profiles for different sites. But the one of the examples that I'll be using is FetLife, for instance. So if you're not a member of FetLife, FetLife.com, then definitely check that out. It's a free membership, although I do encourage you, it's on a donation, voluntary basis to actually be a member. And I do encourage you to be a member of FetLife because they're a tremendous organization, do a huge amount for the non-monogamous. They add a lot of value for the non-monogamous community. But that's all subject for another video, another time. But yes, I'll be talking about a little bit about my FetLife profile, for instance, and how that I use and built that FetLife profile as a means to attract up, just in case I need a little more water later, and then we'll get started. Okay, well, then thank you very much for joining us here tonight. And I am Non-Monogamous Mark. I'm the co-founder and executive director of the nonprofit Non-Monogamous Lifestyles Association. And tonight we're doing a training on the topic. And the topic is how to write the perfect profile which attracts the people you most desire. You see, with Non-Monogamous Lifestyles Association, we have 3 focuses that we want to help you in building and creating for yourself a life that's a dream to live and being a part of. And that is the focus of money. Because if we, are in poverty or even if we're wealthy, or maybe doing really well comfortably, and you're making a healthy 6-figure income, but you've got spending issues and spending problems and what have you, then, it doesn't matter how much money you ever make, and money doesn't buy happiness. And so there are concepts and things that we introduce so that you can live a life of abundance that increases from year to year. We talk about increasing your abundance, your liberation, and your freedom. And that increases year to year, not as when you get older. I mean, I'm 60 years old, and most people by this time in their life, that when they turn 50, they figure, hey, you ever heard the term that after you turn 50, it's all downhill? Well, when I turned 50, I didn't buy into that. And I took an opposite direction, and I reinvented my life. And that's something that we've talked about here, even in writing a profile, is how you can use a profile to help you to reinvent the life that you desire and that you want to have the most. Because that's then when you start to think about who it is that you desire to be, or you can also think about who do I desire to attract to me? Do I want to attract people who are, for instance, on Social Security disability because they're in their 30s or they're in their 40s and their health is so poor, but they may have a lot of time on their life, but and they may be non-monogamous and they may be available to have a lot of sex with, but really, is that the kind of person that you want to attract that's going to help you to build your life? Because the fact is that if you look at the 5 to 10 people that you spend the most of your time with in your life, and you average out the different factors in their life, you average out their income, you average out their attitudes, you average out their intelligence, you average out their education, which is not the same as intelligence. You average a lot of factors out in their life, chances are you're kind of right there in the middle of those 5 to 10 people. And so I know myself when I started taking a look at some of this, I started realizing that I needed to up my game with the people that I was hanging out with. And so when you write a profile, maybe you need to up the game a little bit for yourself and attract people to yourself that you actually want to be around. Because in my case, because they are people with income wise that have a strong growth pattern with their income, and they have they're affluent, they attract more abundance than scarcity to themselves. And the same thing with their health. I don't want to take and hang out with people that are hugely overweight and that are gaining weight every year, that are kind of headed downhill. I want to hang out with people, and I'm not in the best of shape. I mean, I'm probably about 30 pounds actually from where I'd like to be with my weight. I'm 5'10". I'd like to be 185 pounds. But I'm about 215 pounds right now. I'm between 210 and 215 and working on lowering that. But so I'm about 30 pounds overweight. And so do I want to hang out with just everybody that's 30, 40, 50 or 60 or even 100 pounds overweight, so that most of the people that I spend the most of my time with are people that are in that category? Or would I rather hang out with people who are fit and trim and who live an active lifestyle and who have a healthy eating process, And so it's clear to me who I'd rather, be around and who I want to become myself. And that's one of the things that many years ago, about 10 years ago now, well, actually, from when I started, first time I went to a nude resort, or it was a place where you could get naked where other people were at, was a place in Palm Springs many years ago, and probably about 15 years ago. And that's when I realized that, one of the things with being naked around other people, yes, the nudity promotes that you can be comfortable no matter what you look like, no matter how out of shape or how in shape you are, because it's not a snobby group. You don't want to be around a snobby group. However, just being involved with a group like that, a group of nudists, you start thinking, I want to tone up a little bit. I want to be in a little better shape. And that's not a bad thing when you're around people that, make you think yourself about how I want to tone up and be in better shape. And so going back to the topic tonight, how to write the perfect profile which attracts the people you most desire, then that becomes part of this whole process. So as Non-Monogamous Lifestyles Association, we talk about financially, what your life is doing financially. And I'm going to be introducing here, probably in about a little less than maybe 2 months, some things that I'm doing financially, and maybe there'll be some of you that want to join me and want to even work with me. And so financially, we talk about, then another thing we talk about health, because it doesn't matter how good you're doing financially, and it doesn't matter how good you are doing sexually. If your health is going to pot, guess what? Your life is going downhill, and I've seen that so many times that as people age, that they just no longer have much of a sex life. And so oftentimes then we need to tune that up. And so we talk about that then, is how our health affects everything that we do in our life. It affects us financially. It affects us with our sex. And then in bringing this all together, it really comes down to the relationships and the recreational pursuits. Because, what kind of recreational pursuits do you have time for? You see, I want for you to be able to increase the abundance, liberation, and freedom that you have to pursue the things that you enjoy doing recreationally, have an increasing abundance of time to do that. Of course, and that takes some money too, but it also takes health. And of course, I don't know, we're social creatures, and we're not made to go out there and just do things all by ourselves all the time. If you want to do that, then go to Montana and back in the woods and get yourself a little 10 by 10 cabin and just hide out and live that way up there, very primitively. But no, we're social creatures. And we're intellectual creatures. And being intellectual creatures, if you're in that cabin in the woods, how much of a reach can you have intellectually with people? Now, with that being said, yes, that for short terms, that can be very useful and very helpful. I mean, people go up and write brilliant works of books and create art, and then they also go up to cabins. I know I have a friend that spent 3 years on an island, all isolated every winter, all by himself in a cabin in Alaska. And that he did that for 3 years, where nothing but bears came around, literally. And it was so much snow that it was on an island that nobody else was around to come in and visit him. And so winter would go away, and then he'd get in his kayak and he'd go out then and join the rest of the world. But during those times that he was in the cabin, he used that time in order to read some of the greatest works and literature that has ever been written. And that's what he would do all winter long, is read these books. He's a writer himself. And so that's where he really developed his writing skill. And so nothing wrong with spending that time in the woods, but, still he comes out of the woods, and we are social creatures. And so let's go on and get started with this, talking about how to write the perfect profile which attracts the people you most desire. Not the people that, you don't mind hanging out with, but the people that you most desire. And so to start out with, you want to get yourself a piece of paper or a couple pieces of paper, because you see, you've got to take and write your thoughts down. We all take and have a good brain, and we think then that good brain will retain things, and it has. You may have a great memory, but there's something in the creative process and flow of things that starts to happen when you have a pen and paper and start to write things down. Or if you prefer to use the computer, then use the computer. And so the first thing to do is to put at the top of that piece of paper or on the computer, put purpose, just the word purpose. That's a headline for you. And so you want to take then, with the idea of purpose, the profile that you're going to write. You see, I have profiles on, like, for instance, the HelpX site, and also Couchsurfing site, and a site called Warm Showers. Now, these are 3 different organizations that allow you to host other people. Then they can come stay in your house. And so, like, for instance, with Couchsurfing, I've hosted lots of people over the years from all around the world, for anywhere from 1 night to about the most I've hosted anybody was about 10 nights on Couchsurfing. And it's just kind of an interesting social activity that I enjoy doing. I've also gone Couchsurfing myself, and where I wanted to go somewhere and stay somewhere, and I look on the Couchsurfing website, and I contact people, and I stay with them then. And I've done that. In fact, Kat just was in Paris 2 days ago, and she went on Couchsurfing website for Paris, and she found a place, a woman, nice woman, 30 years old, and that she, Kat, and her daughter, 18-year-old daughter, they then stayed in this woman's place and had 2 or 3 days there where they just came and went. The woman gave them a key, and they just came and went, and it was a wonderful thing for them. And so they really enjoyed that. And so I have a Couchsurfing profile. I have a Warm Showers profile. Warm Showers for bicyclists. Warm Showers, so people who do cross-country rides. Oftentimes people will fly into Seattle here, and they'll need a place to kind of assemble their bicycle gear and stuff like that. And then they'll ride from Seattle down to San Diego along the Pacific Coast Highway, a very popular thing. And I've hosted a number of people over the years who have then jumped on their bicycle and made that trek, and all started with me here in Seattle. And so that's through an organization called Warm Showers. I've now reached out to people in the Philippines, because I'm going to spend 3 weeks in the Philippines in November. Kat and I are, and we're going to be doing some bicycling. And there are people on Warm Showers in the Philippines that are happy to host us. And the idea is then that you can always find a warm shower with those people. And then HelpX, I've got someone here in Seattle now that's been here for a couple of months, and he's basically trading room for his room and board, his meals, and his place to stay. He's trading work, where he works about 25 hours a week to helping me get my house ready for sale on the market. And so that's through an organization called HelpX. So there are different kinds of profiles, different kinds of sites. There may be a dating site or a social site, and lots of different kinds. So you want to really think about the purpose of this site, and then the purpose, what are you wanting to accomplish with that? And so write this down. You want to define the end result that you desire at the highest level. And so, for instance, when I created the profile that I have now with Kat in Ventura, we have a couples profile and Fet Life. And the highest value that I wanted to create out of that was to be able to create a community of sexually liberated people that are friends that I can take and feel like that I can trust them with my life. Because then when I'm not there in Ventura and I'm in Seattle, I trust them with time with Kat. And so I want to make sure I have a community of people that's just not any community, but a very specific community of people that I feel like I trust a lot. And so the profile that I created then on Fed Life when we moved there was designed to create that. That was the purpose. And these are people then that it's a growing community of friends that we have there in Ventura. And these are people that we want to enjoy having sex with. And that when I moved to Ventura, the criteria that we had is that let's not do the things that we like to do, go out hiking and road trips and bicycling and things like that with people that we at the end of the day say, hey, it's been a lot of fun. We'll see you on the next time. But instead, we can get together with people and go out and do fun things. And then we can say, hey, let's have a little hanky-panky and let's have a good time, right? And so that we enjoy things as well. And so that was the purpose then of the profile that we write. So you want to define your end result and what you desire at the highest level. And so when you start to put this on paper and you think about these things, what the purpose of that profile is at the highest level. And so think about then, who is the ideal person or who are the ideal people that you desire to attract to yourself the most? Who is the ideal person or who are the ideal people that you desire to attract to yourself the most? And then the next question to answer on that is, what do you desire with and from them? And think about your highest level, because if you just think, oh, anything would do, you see, when you will start attracting people to you, the idea is that to attract people at your highest level, the people that you would be most satisfied and just be like all goofy with excitement to spend time with these people. That's the kind of profile that you want to create, is the kind of a profile that's going to attract those people. And if you don't sit down thinking about these questions and these things and writing these things down to begin with, then you're not going to ever write a profile that's going to attract those people that you want in your life at the highest level. Now, in doing this, one of the things with Non-Monogamous Lifestyles Associations, we talk about reinventing your life financially, so that you can again live financially at your highest level. Reinventing your life with your health so that you can again live your health-wise at your highest level. And reinventing your life sexually, non-monogamous life, of course, so that you can again live with the sexual experiences and enjoyment at your highest level. And so think about then, and when you're thinking about the purpose of your profile, think about how you want to reinvent yourself, because as I mentioned in last week's training that I did, and we talked about your needs versus what you deserve. When it comes to writing your profile, that you definitely get what you deserve, not necessarily what you need. A lot of people write profiles where they write down their need and their needs go unfulfilled because they get what they deserve based upon the profile that they wrote and the energy that they basically put out. So this idea of reinventing yourself, you want to think about and focus on what you want from yourself. And as I mentioned in last week's training, right now, if you draw a line in time right now, that moment that we just drew that line, that's now in the past. That's behind you. Move forward with your life and think about what you want in your life and moving forward, and then reinvent your life to be able to have what you want and desire at the highest level in moving forward with your life. And so you then want to sit on this piece of paper. You first define the end result that you want, desired, the kind of people you desire at the highest level. And then you want to think about reinventing yourself and focus on what you want from yourself at the highest level. And then turn your focus to what you want from other people at the highest level as well. For instance, I decided that I just really don't want to be around smokers, and I love to be able to take and get high on life without needing to get high using drugs or alcohol or pot or anything like that. And I want to associate with people that are getting high on life in the same way that I am. When I then have sex with another couple or another woman or my friends, I want to get high on that experience, not because I've got some pot that I've been smoking. I know a lot of people think that pot will go ahead and increase the experience for you, but I'm sorry, I just can't agree with that personally. And so I want to get high on that experience of enjoying the lusciousness of those individual people. And so, I think about then, what is it that I want from others? And so that's part of reinventing yourself. And so you start to then look and think about then what it is that you want for yourself and what it is you want from others. And then the other last purpose of your profile, again, there's three purposes I want you to write down and think about. First, defining the end result that you desire at your highest level. Second is reinventing yourself. What is it that you're doing to reinvent yourself and how your profile can help you accomplish that? And thirdly is how to weed people out in your profile. I mean, this is particularly important with women in writing a profile because so many people come along and all they ever do is look at pictures and then they just start sending messages, And I get that on my FetLife profile that I've written with Kat all the time. They message, they obviously just look at pictures and they message. Well, how do you weed people out? And so when you sit down and design this profile, you want to put together a series of steps so that allows you to weed out the people you don't want, and then find and kind of sort through and find those people that you do want. And so for me, I'm attracted to intelligent people. And so I want intelligent people in my life. And so my profile becomes a process of me weeding out intelligent people. I don't want people to be attracted to me because of the really great pictures that I've got on my profile. I want people to be attracted to me because they take the time to get to know me, or in this case, my profile with Kat. They take the time to get to know us. I also have a personal profile on FetLife as well, as I have also a business profile on FetLife. I have three different profiles on FetLife: a business profile, a couples profile with Kat, and a personal profile. And so I have three different profiles on FetLife, and all these profiles, they all have a little bit of a different purpose, and they're all written a little differently, but they're all for helping me also to weed people out. And so for you to when you're designing your profile, go ahead and sit down in this process under your purpose heading, and you want to map out how it is that you're going to use your profile. You're going to create your profile to weed people out. And part of that then is knowing what you want in people. And so, for instance, then one of the things that I want non-smoking people. And so I make that very clear that that's fine. That's perfectly fine. That's your choice. It's just that also this is my choice. And then in my profile, I want people that are smart enough to be able to read. And so I don't have a short profile. If any of you seen my profile, you know that it's not a short profile. If you want to read my personal profile, go to Mark in Burien, MarkinBurien. If you're a member of FetLife, you can look up my personal profile, Mark Ian Birian, and you can message me there as well. And you'll see that it's a lengthy profile. And same thing with my profile that I have with Kat. It's a lengthy profile as well, because you see, I want to know that people took the time. They're at a coffee shop or a restaurant or a bar or wherever you get together at and meet and talk. You're going to spend time, you're going to spend money. And so I want my profile to weed those people out for me. And so I've mapped out steps in my profile, and then both my profile, my business profile, is just there to promote Non-Monogamous Lifestyle Association. And so there's really no weeding out there except for the fact that I want non-monogamous people. And then I start to weed out that, I don't want just any non-monogamous people. I want people who have intelligence, who want to increase their abundance, liberation, and freedom in their money, financial world, in their health, and also their sex. If they really just, they don't care what's going on with their health and their weight and their mental health and physical health and emotional health. And I don't want people that are going to be taking us on a roller coaster of drama and these kinds of things. And so, yes, I do weed people out in my business profile, but not as extensively as I do my personal profile and also the couples profile that I have with Kat. And so think about then how you're going to go through that process of weeding them out. For myself, then in my couples profile with Kat and also my personal profile is that I want people that, again, are going to be thinking people, and so they're willing to take the time to read my profile. And then also I want people to engage with me. My couples profile with Kat, we have a number of writings that we have done in our FetLife profile. These are where you click on a link and you can read a writing. And so I tell people that I want them to read some specific writings that I link them to. And then I want them, because they can make comments on those writings. And I want them to comment on those writings, because as they comment, I'm engaging with them. I want to get a chance to get to know them as they get to know me. Tell me what you think of this writing. Tell me your own thoughts on this. They don't have to think the same as I do. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm simply looking for people that are intelligent, that will engage in conversation. I use once in a while foul language myself, but usually have a very specific purpose and point of using that foul language. And again, if you use a lot of foul language, no problem. One of my best friends, he uses, every fourth word seems like is an F-bomb, and so no big deal. But I'm not going to judge anybody for that. It's just that's then not who typically is the people that I want to spend a lot of time with. And then, in fact, that's one of the reasons that over the years I find myself taking and spending less time with this gentleman who's one of my best friends. And he and his wife are non-monogamous. They are not monogamous. They know about my open lifestyle and all of that. And but so I kind of find that I've got other people I'd rather spend time with nowadays. And so I want to engage them. And by engaging them, then when they read something, I want them to share some of their comments and their thoughts and their ideas, just like we do here in the video. Like I hope that if you'll share, what you think about the video by either giving it a thumbs up if you like it, or go ahead and give it a thumbs down if you're not liking it so well. And so then engage by either, if you're seeing the recorded video, then make some comments in the comments section. Or and when they message me, I want to know their real first names. I know people are scared sometimes about giving their names, but it's just one of the things is that I want to at least know their first name. And so I ask them to message me at the end of the process. I ask them to message me with their first name. And so that's the kind of the screening out process that we do. And so the purpose then, again, I will go through the 3 points of your purpose of your profile. Define your end result that you desire at the highest level. Point 1. Point 2, reinvent yourself and then figure out how your profile will communicate how you're reinventing yourself and actually help you with reinventing yourself. Number 3 is use your profile in weeding people out. And so here's a couple of do's for your profile. In writing your profile, right at the beginning of your profile, start by putting a little line in there, the first line, updated. Like if I were writing the profile today, I'd put updated 6/17/2018. Because you see, I come across profiles all the time, and I don't know if that profile is current or if it's something that they wrote 5 years ago. And oftentimes it's something that people wrote years ago, and I don't know that. So I go ahead and I read it all, and then I message them based upon what they wrote years ago, and it's no longer true. And that's kind of like just a real bummer. And so don't let that happen to people that are going to be rating your profile. And then I go in and I periodically update my profile. And so that's something you want to do as well. And when I do an update, I'll go ahead and enter a new date in there. I will review and I'll update the profile, enter a new date in there. And so where it says, again, the very first line, updated, like if I updated the profile today, it would say updated 6/17/2018. And so the next thing to do on writing your profile is to use short paragraphs and sentences. Now, paragraph in writing your profile should typically be no more than 2 or 3 short sentences. You see, today, most people will read and use their phones to read your profile. And when they're using their phone to read your profile, there's nothing worse than just long paragraphs, that they lose track of what you're saying that way. And so you want to use short paragraphs of no more than 2 or 3 short sentences, okay? So then another do is to be intentional. Intentional simply is to go through the design process. That's why I say take out some paper and go through these steps. The first step was purpose. The second thing we got here is do's, and be intentional in writing out things before you go and actually start putting it online. But be very intentional. And so just like with your life, you design, we at Non-Monogamous Lifestyles, we help you to create a life that you design. Because after all, that's the only way that you will be able to create a life that is a dream life. You're living at the highest level you desire. And is by being intentional in designing that life and then creating that life. And so it's the same thing with your profiles. Be intentional. And just like in designing and creating your life, the next point is be clear and specific. And this is why you want to be updating your profile all the time. And so, because as you go along, you actually start getting more clarity and so that you can be more specific in what you want. And so be very clear and be very specific. The more clear you can be and the more specific you can be in your writing your profile, then the more people will respond to that, and then will actually then be attracted to that. I cannot tell you how many people that will send a message about how great they thought reading our profile was, because I'm very clear and I'm very specific. Sometimes people will come along and they'll read it and they say, well, I'm a smoker, but I just really liked your profile, and so I thought I'd message you and tell you how great I thought your profile was. And so be very clear and specific. And you see, and then that's part of the process of writing a profile like this and designing a profile, is that as you go along over the next 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, you fine tune that and you become increasingly more clear and increasingly more specific. I shared with you, I can't remember, a week or two ago, about my old profile on OkCupid, and how many years before I met Kat, that I sat down and redid that whole profile, and I got super clear and super specific, where then I just simply, if somebody couldn't check off all the boxes, I simply really wasn't going to take my time to meet that person, because my time is valuable. And I'd rather spend my time with my personal growth and development than to spend time going out there and meeting someone for coffee and not to have it be really what I'm excited about. I'd rather spend the time in either making money or spend the time in developing better health, like going to the gym and working out, or going for a walk or something of that nature, going for a bike ride or going for a hike. than wasting time meeting lots of people, having coffee. And so you want to be clear and specific. And when I finally got really super clear and super specific on my OK Cupid profile, this is about 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago, a little over 4.5 years ago. Then sure enough, 2 months later, then I met Kat. And she never even read my profile. She had a profile on OkCupid. That's just not how we met. And finally, one day we're talking about our profiles, and she says, "Oh, let me go and read your profile." And sure enough, she goes down that checklist, and she was able to check off every one of those boxes where I was so clear and so specific. I was basically not meeting anybody that couldn't check off those boxes. And so be clear and specific, and don't worry about, kind of like the people that you're missing out on because you're being so clear and specific. That's how you're going to attract the people to you that you want to have in your life, and that you're going to raise your game is by being so clear and specific. You see, but I come across people all the time. They are so afraid of what they're going to miss out on that they're afraid to be that clear and specific. And so if that describes you, then the news for you is that you'll never attract the people of your dreams to you. Okay? If you want to attract, like the title of today's subject, how to write the perfect profile which attracts the people that you most desire. Not that you least desire, or not that you're okay with, but that you most desire. And so be clear and specific. And the next thing then is to fine-tune that profile and fine-tune, what it is that you are being clear and specific on. And just be fine-tuning that all the time. And then lastly is then as you fine-tune it, you want to regularly update that profile. And as I said before, then when you update that profile, put in that very top line, updated, and then put the new date in. So you're just really letting people know that when this was updated. Now, that doesn't mean that you changed everything, and sometimes you will leave the old update, and just write a new line, updated, here's updated today. But I don't like a journal type profile. Some people use that where, it's kind of like, okay, here's like a journal or a blog type profile. Here's today's update. Here's another update. Here's another update, and this is not Facebook, okay? You're writing a profile and you're updating it, and I believe you can do a major overhaul in your profile, and it's kind of like reinvent your life, reinvent your profile. You can do a major overhaul if you want, and then regularly update it and fine tune it with those updates. So now, getting down to actually writing profile. Then we've talked a little bit about already, your purpose, under purpose, you got to think about the people you want to attract, you want to create, and write out some steps of how you're going to, refine your profile so that you weed people out. And every profile, you're a different person. You have a different profile than I do. And so your processes will be a little different. But if you do have any questions about, anything like how to do something or what have you, be sure to go ahead and write that in the comments, and I'll be happy to go ahead and cover that. But then some questions for you to actually ask yourself, so that when you answer these questions on writing, by writing them on paper or putting them on the computer, and then you can transfer these things to your profile. And so when it comes to the real written part, then you ask yourself, I am. Now, if you've been following along on Monday night sessions, on the coaching sessions that we're doing, then that I'm having you read a book for one of your homework assignments. Read the book Promptings, and one of the things is that Promptings tells you how to take and basically the thoughts, the things that you think about become the life that you create, and thoughts turn to things. And you can create and write the story of the life that you desire, that you want at the highest level. You can create the story of the life that you want by actually then going through some thought processes. And one of those thought processes is using I am statements, because they are current time. And so then so sit down and write some I am statements yourself. I am. And then who are you? I am smart. I am on my way of reinventing my life. I am non-monogamous. I am sexually liberated. And if you don't know the difference between sexual liberation and sex positive, again, refer to that video on sexual liberation. I am growth minded. And if you don't understand the difference between growth minded and fixed minded, again, then go ahead and Google that, and you'll find there's a difference between growth minded and fixed minded. And so that's something that's very important to me. I am growth minded, and I want to attract people to me that are growth minded and not fixed minded. And I even have a profile that has that information in there and links them to a video on YouTube that explains what it means to be growth minded instead of fixed minded. So people can click on that link and they can say, "Oh, that's growth minded. Oh, okay. No, I'm fixed minded." And people who are fixed minded will make statements like, "Well, that's just the way. That's just who I am," or "That's just the way I am." People who are growth minded will say, "I used to think that I wasn't very smart. But then I learned that I really am smart because I can learn a lot of things. I've got a really great brain." Or people will say, "Well, I'm just not good at that." Instead of saying, "I could be good at that if I wanted, but I choose not to spend my time to get good at that." And so there are different ways then that you create a mindset for growth as opposed to a mindset that gets you just stuck where you're at. And then that's called a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. So questions to ask yourself is think about, I am. And so you start to define the person that you are reinventing yourself to be in order to attract the people that you desire to have in your life that are in your future, not in your past. For instance, if I want more friends like my friend that's non-monogamous, that every fourth word is an F-bomb, if I want more friends like that, then, I would create a profile then, and I would answer questions like, I am. Well, I'm like my friend, I am somebody who curses and swears a lot, or I am someone who smokes pot a lot, or I am someone who this or that. And so, that's my past. That's not who I am. Well, not all those things are my past, okay? But whatever your past is, think about when you're answering this question, I am. When you're answering that question, think about I am and where you're headed, the person you want to be, the person that you are creating yourself to be, not the person that you really don't want to be. And so you want to give your energy to the person that you desire at the highest level to be. One of my I am statements is I'm a millionaire, and now I don't write that in my profiles, I'm a millionaire, but that's one of my I am statements. And so write down for yourself your I am statements, because I have that I am statement of wanting to be a millionaire. Guess what? I really am not interested in hanging around a lot of people that are going nowhere. Now, I'm not going to judge them for their income. Like, for instance, maybe it's somebody who just really doesn't have a lot of money, but they're on the ball with their life. They're growth minded and they're creative. It's the things that they're involved in doing are amazing. Maybe they're going like to Africa and feeding the volunteering and feeding the world or something like, whatever it is. I don't want to take and judge anybody, but at the same time, it's a mindset that I am looking for. And I want people that are going to be on a similar mindset. And so the fact that I have an I am statement that says I am a millionaire, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to associate with other people that aren't going to be a millionaire. That means that it's a mindset of people that I'm going to associate. And I want fascinating and interesting people. In fact, one of the things that you can put in there says, have you met today anybody that's truly fascinating and really interesting? Because I am a truly fascinating and interesting person. And so if you'd like to meet a fascinating and interesting person, then you want to meet me. And so you come up with things like this by creating these I am statements of who you are in the process of growing to become. I mean, do you want to be someone who's boring? No, what do you want then? Well, I want to be someone who's fascinating and interesting to talk about or to talk with. Okay, then put that in there. Do you want to be someone who really doesn't talk and can't communicate? Or do you want to be someone who's just a really good communicator? Well, show that in your profile by how you write your profile, that you are a really good communicator. Or, again, that may be where you're growing. You could say, I'm becoming a better communicator today. I'm becoming a great communicator. Do you want to be someone who is shy? And if you do, then that's fine. And if you want to be a social introvert, then that's fine too. Communicate that in your profile. Because again, I'm not placing any judgment on anybody for what they want to be themselves. But if that's not what you want to be, instead of then say, okay, well, yeah, I've always been considered myself to be shy. That's not what I want. Well, what do you want instead? Well, I want someone who is confident and outgoing and that will speak up in a crowd. And so put that down, write that down. I am someone who is confident. I am someone who is outgoing. I am someone who will speak up in a crowd. And so write that down. And so you start to create your I am statements on paper. And then some of those statements, not all of them, but some of those I am statements will transfer over to your profile. So then that's a question to ask yourself is ask the question, I am. And then the next question to ask is, I am here for. I'm here for, like for instance, my FetLife profiles and some of the things that I've seen people write about. I'm here to learn. I'm here for learning from the groups because there's lots of groups. You can learn all kinds of wonderful, fascinating things. So I'm here to learn from the groups. I'm here from in order to learn from people through one-on-one messages. I don't want to meet anybody, but I'm wanting to message with people and chat and engage with people and learn from that. I'm here to learn from one-on-one encounters. I would love to be able to get together with you and pick your brain, but I'm here to learn then from people who has a brain that's worth my picking. So again, write down, I am here for, and learning is one of those things. I'm here for learning at events. I'm here to go to events. I'm here to post events. I recently met someone that, that's one of the things that they are on FetLife for is because they regularly have events and they want to be able to get the word out. And so they're there to post their events. I'm here for meeting friends, and then be specific and clear about what kinds of friends that you are here to meet. And so again, my profile with Kat is very specific and clear about what kind of friends that I'm there to meet. One of the things that's important to me is their people's STI testing. And so I make that very clear that, you've got to be tested for STIs, and I talk about what that means. And so I'm very clear about that. Maybe I am here for staying in touch with friends. You create a community of people in these places like FetLife and other places that you create a profile for. You can create a community of people, and maybe you're there just to stay in touch with your friends and then communicate that. Again, think about what is your highest level that you want to achieve and accomplish with this profile. When I created the couples profile for Kat and I when we moved to Ventura, the highest level is I wanted to meet specific kinds of individuals that we would be able to have as friends to enjoy doing things with, the kinds of things that we enjoy doing, but then also that we'd be able to engage with them regularly sexually on an ongoing basis. So that we're not just, out there trying to pick up and have a new friend every month, and much rather have a large growing group of friends that we attract to ourselves because that we're kind of like the same kind of people. We then constantly are growing this group of friends and this community that we create, and so we attract those people to us by the profiles that we read, but that we write. And so I'm here for staying in touch with friends. I'm here for relationships, and be specific then as to what kind of relationships that you want to create. Do you want to meet someone that's going to be the love of your life? Again, going out talking about FetLife, I've seen people on there that write that I'm looking for a slut to have a relationship with, you know, and what does that mean? Because that'll mean different things to different people. So just because you write a little sentence like that, then you need to be clear and specific then about what that means, because otherwise you may get what you wrote, but it may not be what you mean. And it means something different to someone else. And so you want to make sure that you're clear and specific about these, but write about then the kind of relationship that you are looking for. Maybe you're looking for a couple different kinds of relationships. You know, you're looking for someone to go out on play dates, specific kinds of play dates. You're looking for also a workout buddy to go to the gym with, you know, and so put down the very specific types of relationships that you are looking for. And because, again, non-monogamy, we believe that it's not necessarily one person that's going to meet all of those different kinds of relationship criteria that you have. So we look for different relationships with different people. You might put down there, you know, you ask yourself that I am here for sex, you know, so I'm here for sex. Well, then what kind of sex? Is it ongoing sex? Is it NSA one time? I know someone that's a woman that she, I don't know what she's doing these days. I haven't chatted with her quite some time. Actually, I know her husband, and I never met her, but I know her through her husband. And she was one of these people on Craigslist that she would only ever see a person one time, but she loved to have sex with new people all the time. And so she would go on Craigslist. Of course, you can't do this on Craigslist anymore. And that's why the importance of actually creating a profile like this and be clear and specific at your highest level what you want to achieve with your profile. I'm here for ongoing sex. I'm here for NSA one-time sex. I'm here for NSA ongoing. No strings attached, but I want something ongoing. I'm here for friends with benefits. I'm here for finding the love of my life, my soulmate or my soulmates, because in non-monogamy, actually, I don't believe we have one soulmate. I believe we have multiple soulmates. And so I'm here to meet my soulmates. And this is something we're working on through Non-Monogamous Lifestyles Association to get an idea across that, yeah, you don't just have one soulmate. I believe you have soulmates, and your soulmates are, you know, for different purposes. Sometimes your soulmate may be for business. Sometimes your soulmate may be somebody who will save your life. You know, we have different kinds of soulmates. And then sometimes our soulmates become the love of our life, and we can have more than one soulmate that is the love of our life. There's not one single love of our life. And, you know, so we want to identify that and be clear and specific when writing your profile. And the last thing then, the question to ask yourself is that I am here for. So let me go through review these 3 questions to ask yourself. I am, and then define the person that you are reinventing yourself to be in order to attract the people that you desire. I am here for, and then define what you're there for. And I am available for. Are you available to go out hiking? Are you available to go out on a road trip? Are you available to go to the beach? Are you available, you know, and you don't have to create a long laundry list, you know, but, you know, you're available for. One of the things that, you know, in creating the profile is that, remember, positive energy is what attracts people to you, not negative energy. And when I first wrote the profile that I wrote for Kat and I, that I later read that and I realized I'm putting out a lot of negative energy, and that's why I'm not attracting the people that I desire, is because the profile says, I don't want any non-smokers. All right, the profile says, I don't want any smokers. I don't want anybody that does drugs. I don't want anyone who smokes pot. I don't want any people who are obese. I don't want anybody who doesn't get tested regularly for STIs. You know, and it was full of what I didn't want, and that's all negative energy. And so to turn that around, create positive energy, you think about then, okay, if I don't want that, what is it that I do want? And you communicate then what you do want, not what you don't want. Because if you communicate what you don't want, you're going to attract that to you. And so that's a critical part of your profile, is to create this positive energy so you attract people to you instead of creating negative energy, and then you just attract more of what you don't want instead of attracting more of what you do want. Let's take a look, see what Steve is saying here. In writing a dating profile, could it be like, hey, I'm looking for multiple people for friendships, love, and sex? That's a good start. It's still a little too specific. Friendships, that would be maybe, for instance, creating a profile. I'm looking for multiple people for friendships, and then discuss that a little bit. That's one of the things in my profile with Kat. I'm looking for multiple people for friendships. These are real genuine friendships. People we really like spending time together, doing things, and the kinds of things that I want to do is I want to do active things, but also I want to be able to go to the movies, or I want to just go out for coffee, or go out for a drink, or go out and listen to music. And so you can write some of those kinds of things down then that you're looking for in creating friends. And then I went on to say, now I also, though, I am specifically looking for these kinds of friends that at the end of doing something together, we can go out and have sex together. Or maybe then we don't even do some of those things, and we instead get together just to have sex together. And so you want to be where you may start out and saying, yes, I am looking for multiple people for friendships. But then that's different than looking for multiple people for romantic love, emotional relationships. And so that would be another section then. And remember, you want to write paragraphs that are 2 to 3 sentences, but keep them short. And so you may write 2 or 3 paragraphs about each section, instead of keep writing one long paragraph about each section. And so keep that in mind, because again, when people are reading on their smartphones, that you want to be able to follow you and easily do that. Make it easy for them. If you make it easy for them, then they will follow your profile. If you make it difficult for them, they're not going to pay attention to it. And also it says something about you when you make it easy for them. And so let me see, love and sex. Well, and so then again, like I said, friendship or for love, define then sex. And what kind of sex are you looking for? Are you looking for BDSM sex? Are you looking for swinger sex? For instance, that I mentioned earlier that, about sluts. Well, you see my energy with Kat and I, we love being a selective, ethical sluts. And we really enjoy connecting with friends who also are selective, ethical sluts. And we talk about that then in our profile. And so people who are sexually liberated, we talk about that. You can even link them, as I believe in one of my writings about sexual liberation. You can link them to my video about sexually liberated life versus a sex positive life. A lot of people just don't know the difference. I've had a conversation going on the last week with a woman I know, and she's single and a lovely woman, and she, saw me as a couple with Kat and didn't realize the difference, because most sex positive couples, okay, they have a lot of rules and a lot of restrictions. When they go and they play with another couple, well, we only play as a couple. We only take and we don't do any kissing. And there's a play party once a month there in the Ventura County that has a rule that the person that you arrive with, you have to go home with. It's a couples thing, and that's a strong rule, And so it's like, okay, there are people that have all these rules. You see, so 11 years ago, when I went from monogamy after 27 years of monogamy, and then my wife and I opened up our relationship, we were sex positive. We had a lot of rules, and those rules protected her insecurities. They protected, some rules are good, like safe sex standards. Okay, those can be good. Been with the polyamorous community about 10, 15 years ago is to have a relationship agreement. I even taught classes on writing your relationship agreement. And so it was a really big deal. And it was important to me to have these written rules. And so, no, I have grown from that. It was good. That's kind of got me started. And so that was good at the time. But I've grown from that. And that's part of the difference of understanding the difference between being sex positive and sexually liberated. And so I encourage you to know those kinds of things, understand those kinds of things yourself. Not anything wrong with not being sexually liberated yet, but that's kind of the progression. Remember, increasing your abundance, your liberation, and your freedom. And in that process, when we're talking about sex, then you go from being sex positive to sexually liberated. And that means then that like with Kat and I, we really don't have rules other than we have some safe sex standards, and we want to have open conversation and communication so that nothing is kept between us and things like that. And so that's then I guess part of sexual liberation that I'm talking about here. Well, actually, I'm looking for vanilla sex, and that's fine too. That's perfectly that really want to take and put that in there. And there are people that's really what they want. In fact, I knew a gal years ago. She said, "Sex is my kink," and she just really enjoyed having vanilla sex, but having an abundance of vanilla sex with multiple people. And so you just want to make sure you're really clear. And what do you mean by vanilla sex? You see, I remember I attended a workshop years ago, and it was about finding your kink. And the woman who gave the workshop, she's very well, very knowledgeable. She's an expert in kink. She's founded an organization here in Seattle, a couple of organizations, one called the Center for Sex Positive Culture. The other is I think called the Foundation for Sex Positive Culture. It's like that. But so anyway, she was very familiar with kink. And so I went to that out of curiosity because I was still relatively new in non-monogamy. And I went to that workshop, and she knew me very well. We were friends. And I looked at her at the end of the day and I says, well, would you think I'm very kinky? I don't think I'm very kinky. And she looked at me and she says, you're kinky, Mark. You have your kinks and your likes. For instance, to some people, vanilla sex is nothing more than missionary intercourse. Well, I was way beyond that. Okay. I mean, I enjoy fisting a woman. I enjoy oral sex. I enjoy an occasional anal sexual encounter. I enjoy having threesomes and foursomes and orgies. And so all of these are known as kinks, even though I kind of saw them all as vanilla because I really wasn't into BDSM. I wasn't into, whips and chains. I'm not into a lot of toys. And then those are the things that you want to do in writing your profile. First is you define your purpose of your profile. Second, we went through some do's. Third is some questions that you ask yourself. And so then once you've gone through that process, then it's just a matter of putting it all in writing onto your profile. And then, as I mentioned, you want to update and fine tune it. And that just becomes part of your journey that you go through. Is it then as you go through this journey and you're constantly learning, well, gee, I don't want to experience that again. And how am I going to then communicate that in a positive way? For instance, I met a woman that was super positive. And, we met online and she loved my profile. This is about 7 years ago. She loved my profile. And so she loved the intelligence, the communication. She loved the positive energy I put off on my profile. And she just really keyed in on that. And I really hit it off well with her. We spent a month communicating online and on the phone. And we finally decided that we're going to meet and we're going to enjoy some sex together. and providing that everything went well when we met. And so we finally met, and I was pumped about meeting this woman, and she was pumped about meeting me. Now, once we met, we sat down and we started talking, and I realized that she suffers from depression. And so she's on medication that kind of just helps to lift her up a little bit. The only thing is that she actually overdoses herself so that she can just notch it up a couple extra notches. And that's where all of her positivity comes from. And so she actually then, all the positive energy that I received was induced in her from medication. And where she took a little extra medication, and her doctor prescribed a little extra for her, knowing that. And that's why she was like this super positive person, and happy, and just, really great personality. The only thing is that in a relationship with that woman, I was looking for a woman to have an ongoing relationship, an intimate, emotional, sexual relationship with. And I did not want to be around when that woman came down. I've experienced that once before in my dating life, and I didn't want to be around that again. And so that's where then I had to go back and fine-tune my profile a little bit, and fine-tune my whole process of trying to eliminate certain people, screening out people. And so that's where I tune in on health, and the health being that yes, if you're taking antidepressants, chances are I'm not really that keen and interested in you. And instead, if you want to learn how to get off of your antidepressants through a natural way, a natural process, there's ways you can learn to do that. In fact, you might want to do some research on essential oils and depression, and how you can use essential oils to get off of depression medication. And so there are things that I'll suggest to people, but I use that as a screening. Now, that particular situation, I did meet with that woman, and it didn't take us too long to determine that, no, we weren't going to be involved in an intimate, ongoing relationship. But she was horny, I was horny, and so we went off to her condo, and we had a very nice time, and we knew it was going to be just a one-time encounter then for both of us, and we were both fine with that. And it was a wonderful one-time sexual encounter. And so there's those things as well. Just want to be clear and specific. And then as you go through this journey, that you will learn things. And as you learn these things, then start to figure out how to use my profile to identify that and to weed people out. And so in a positive way, with that antidepressant situation, I said that I'm looking for people who are healthy and active, and that's likely a person that is not on a lot of medications. And I just use it let it go at that. And I have not met a woman since then that was like that. Now, Kat, when I met her, she was on antidepressants. And so that's where I don't want to just totally throw people out. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. Kat was on antidepressants, and yet she functioned very nicely and very well with that. But we talked about that then, and I just shared with her then, what some options are available to her. And she listened, and she then looked into some things, and she didn't stop taking her antidepressants, but she started to do some of the essential oils that I recommended. And as she did that, then she found that she just needed less and less antidepressant medication. And she slowly then weaned herself off of the antidepressant medication. And then she was using these essential oils all the time. And so using the essential oils, but even that then, after a while, that's become something that you need less and less. So it was just one essential oil, it was a blend of essential oils that she used. And I'm a distributor for that company. And so she was able to, get it wholesale. And that's where we'll be talking about some opportunities. If you're interested in opportunities and working with me, I'll have a number of different options for you coming up in a couple months and so forth. I'll talk a little more about, but that's not the purpose of what I'm talking about at this point. When I go to talk about those things, I'll be very clear and specific. So if it's not something you're interested in, then you won't tune in at that particular time. But so with Kat then, that she found that after a while, she didn't need twice a day using these essential oils. And so after a while, it got to once a day. And then now, I think it's like once a month or so that she'll notice that she's going through a little bit of a dip, and women have these things with their monthly cycles when they have you, but she'll just notice where, okay, I need a little bit of this essential oil blend to kind of raise my happy feeling, you might say. And so she does that. And so, you learn how to take and screen people out in your profiles, but you don't, again, want to pour the baby out with the bathwater. You don't want to toss people to the side. There are ways you can screen certain people out, but not get so narrow and so tight that you really screen everybody out, so that even the people you would want to attract to you, that you're screening out as well. But that becomes part of the learning process as well. And you start thinking, hey, my profile is not working. If it's not working, it's not attracting people to me. And so what's going on here? You see, and so there are things then that once you get a profile and start writing a profile, and you get a profile that you're happy with, that puts out positive energy, then at that point, it's just then attracting people to you. What I do to attract people to me is that a couple times a week, I don't do a lot of this, but I don't have a lot of time for this, but a couple times a week, I'll go ahead and I will respond to a post that somebody makes in a group, and I'll respond to a post, and I usually respond in ways that are intelligent and communicate well, and that makes people think, wow, who is that person? And so they go ahead and they click on my profile to go look at my profile, and that attracts people to me. And sometimes it weeds people out. Sometimes people come along and they click on my profile, they see the photographs, and they message me, which is not what I want. That they really didn't spend time to read the profile. And so do I throw them out the window? No, I don't. I will go ahead and send them a message. I'll say, hey, I'd really like a chance to get to know you, to find out if you like us and I like you. And so in order for that process to take place, I'm not going to waste a half hour of time driving across town to meet someone that I don't really know that it's somebody that I'm really likely to be good friends with. So let's take that time and use my profile to determine that. So go ahead and read my profile. I link you to some writings in my profile. Read those writings and engage with me about these things, so that as we engage, we can get to know if we really have a good friendship growing and building. And then if we do, we can actually meet. And that screens most people out. You see, we probably have anywhere between 2 people and 10 people a week contact us on our profile. And I'm not looking, that's a couple hundred people a year. I'm not looking to develop a community where I am personally engaging with a couple hundred people on an ongoing basis. No. And so that's, I guess, the last tip that I really wanted to make with you on all of this writing your profile, is that once you have written your profile, trust that the process will work for you. That's part of the energy. And don't expect it to work overnight. There's going to be some of that fine tuning that's needed. And so that if you go out there and you're involved in some groups and making some comments and what have you, or like on another profile I have, the Swingers Lifestyle, I'll go ahead and I'll message people. And by messaging people, if I'm not getting a response that I'm wanting, then that says to me something's not quite right about my profile, or it's just screening all these people out. And so I then think, okay, what do I need to update and change and tweak on this profile in order to not over-screen people, and screen everybody out that I really don't want to screen out. And so it's a process, and I went through that process. It took me actually, and when I put my profile on Swing Lifestyle, it took me about a year to go through the process, because I don't spend a lot of time there at all. And I just, when I would spend a little bit of time there and I would message other people and wasn't getting the results that I wanted, I had to ask myself, go back and take a look at my profile and then ask myself, am I screening people out too heavily, or am I really just needing some fine tuning here? And or maybe both. And so in that case, on my Swingers Lifestyle profile, I realized that I needed to do some fine tuning and also not screen people out quite so tightly. And so there's that involved as well. Okay, and so the last tip there is that to trust in the system, and then that means you're going to have patience to let the process work. I mean, think back where you were 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years ago, and have you really moved forward to accomplish what you want to accomplish since then? What I find that most people, when they're writing these profiles and all, they're just going around in the same merry-go loop, around and around and around. They're like stuck in the proverbial hamster wheel. And so that's where you can break out of being stuck by writing a profile, following this process that I talk about here today, and break out of being stuck, but then give it the trust and the patience, knowing that you're not going to attract a horde of people to you. But at first, what happens is that you're just fine-tuning things. And then you start to attract and engage with a couple people through your profile. And when you attract and engage, then look to see where that went. Did that give me the result that I'm looking for? Go back and fine-tune it and update your profile. And then what happens is after a while, it may take a year, but after a while, then you really have worked that process to where you start to then attract the kind of people that you desire at your highest level to be engaging with. And then the profile actually starts to work for you. And, again, you're not looking to engage a lot of people, because I spent half my time in Seattle and half my time in Ventura. I've got to be very careful about how much engagement that I get, because I don't have the time to put into a lot of engagement. But, when I'm in Ventura, I'd like to meet maybe one new couple for every 4 weeks that I'll spend in Ventura, because I'm still growing in my community. And so I'd like to meet one new couple every 4-week period. And so, that's kind of what my goal is. And so I ask myself, is that what I'm accomplishing with that profile? And if it's not, then that's telling me, okay, I need to fine tune a little bit. If it's engaging too much, then I need to fine tune a little bit. If it's doing the job, or if it's not doing the job, I need to fine tune that a little bit. If it's doing the job, of course, I don't need to fine tune. It's working just fine. And like right now, I'm finding that's working just fine. And same thing with my profile on Swingers Lifestyle. It really is. It's just working just fine. And so that's where you allow patience to come in and trust that you have the ability to write a profile that will attract to you the people that you desire at the highest level. You have to become also that person yourself to attract those people at that highest level. And that becomes part of the growth and personal development and self-improvement and everything. And that's why I just really love this lifestyle that we're in, is that it helps you to keep on that trajectory of increasing your abundance, your liberation, your freedom. And that's in your personal growth and development as well. Okay, let's see what it was saying. Any other questions then? If there's no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to go ahead and give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. If you're watching the video recording, please put a comment and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, in the description that I'll be putting into the YouTube recording, there will be a link where you can go ahead and click on that link. That takes you over to find out more about my nonprofit, Non-Monogamous Lifestyles Association. Click on that link, find out more, and get on the email list so that we can let you know all the kinds of things that we have coming up. Always just take and get off the list by us. Click on a little link that's in every email I send out that says unsubscribe. You can always do that. But that way you can actually then keep up on what's going on with Non-Monogamous Mark, myself, and also Non-Monogamous Lifestyles Association. But you'll totally miss out if you're not getting our emails and also not subscribing to the YouTube channel, because that's where I spend most of my time, is through my emails and through my YouTube channel. So thanks a lot for being here and participating tonight. And until next week, next time, we'll see you then.